Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 18. The Vulture Become Prey. We must insist upon one psychological fact peculiar to barricades. Nothing which is characteristic of that surprising war of the streets should be omitted. Whatever may have been the singular inward tranquility which we have just mentioned, the barricade, for those who are inside it, remains, nonetheless, a vision. There is something of the apocalypse in civil war. All the mists of the unknown are commingled with fierce flashes. Revolutions or sphinxes, and anyone who has passed through a barricade thinks he has traversed a dream. The feelings to which one is subject in these places we have pointed out in the case of Marius, and we shall see the consequences. They are both more and less than life. On emerging from a barricade, one no longer knows what one has seen there. One has been terrible, but one knows it not. One has been surrounded with conflicting ideas which had human faces. One's head has been in the light of the future. There were corpses lying prone there, and phantoms standing erect. The hours were colossal and seemed hours of eternity. One has lived in death. Shadows have passed by. What were they? One has beheld hands on which there was blood. There was a deafening horror. There was also a frightful silence. There were open mouths which shouted, and other open mouths which held their peace. One was in the midst of smoke, of night, perhaps. One fancied that one had touched the sinister ooze of unknown depths. One stares at something red on one's fingernails. One no longer remembers anything. Let us return to the Rue de la Chevrerie. All at once, between two discharges, the distant sound of a clock striking the hour became audible. "It is midday," said Combeferre. The 12 strokes had not finished striking when Enjolras sprang to his feet and from the summit of the barricade hurled his thundering shout. "Carry stones up into the houses. Line the window-sills and the roofs with them. Half the men to their guns, the other half to the paving stones. There is not a minute to be lost." A squad of sappers and miners, axe on shoulder, had just made their appearance in battle array at the end of the street. This could only be the head of a column. And of what column? The attacking column, evidently. The sappers charged with the demolition of the barricade must always precede the soldiers who are to scale it. They were, evidently, on the brink of that moment which Messire Clermont-Tonnerre in 1822 called the tug-of-war. Enjolras's order was executed with the correct haste which is peculiar to ships and barricades. The only two scenes of combat where escape is impossible. In less than a minute, 2/3 of the stones which Enjolras had had piled up at the door of Corinth had been carried up to the first floor in the attic. And before a second minute had elapsed, these stones, artistically set one upon the other, walled up the sash window on the first floor, and the windows in the roof to half their height. A few loopholes carefully planned by Feuilly, the principal architect, allowed of the passage of the gun barrels. This armament of the windows could be effected all the more easily since the firing of grape-shot had ceased. The 2 cannons were now discharging ball against the center of the barrier in order to make a hole there, and if possible, a breach for the assault. When the stones destined to the final defense were in place, Enjolras had the bottles which he had set under the table where Mabeuf lay, carried to the first floor. "Who is to drink that?" Bossuet asked him. "They," replied Enjolras. Then they barricaded the window below, and held in readiness the iron crossbars which served to secure the door of the wine shop at night. The fortress was complete. The barricade was the rampart. The wine shop was the dungeon. With the stones which remained, they stopped up the outlet. As the defenders of a barricade are always obliged to be sparing of their ammunition, And as the assailants know this, the assailants combine their arrangements with a sort of irritating leisure, exposing themselves to fire prematurely, though in appearance more than in reality, and take their ease. The preparations for attack are always made with a certain methodical deliberation, after which the lightning strikes. This deliberation permitted Enjolras to take a review of everything, and to perfect everything. He felt that since such men were to die, their death ought to be a masterpiece. He said to Marius, "We are the two leaders. I will give the last orders inside. Do you remain outside and observe." Marius posted himself on the lookout upon the crest of the barricade. Enjolras had the door of the kitchen, which was the ambulance, as the reader will remember, nailed up. "No splashing of the wounded," he said. He issued his final orders in the tap room in a curt but profoundly tranquil tone. Fully listened and replied in the name of all. "On the first floor, hold your axes in readiness to cut the staircase. Have you them?" "Yes," said Fully. "How many?" "2 axes and a poleaxe." "That is good. There are now 26 combatants of us on foot. How many guns are there?" 34. 8 too many. Keep those 8 guns loaded like the rest and at hand. Swords and pistols in your belts. 20 men to the barricade. 6 ambushed in the attic windows and at the window on the first floor to fire on the assailants through the loopholes in the stones. Let not a single worker remain inactive here. Presently, when the drum beats the assault, let the 20 below stairs rush to the barricade. The first to arrive will have the best places." These arrangements made, he turned to Javert and said, "I'm not forgetting you." And laying a pistol on the table, he added, "The last man to leave this room will smash the skull of this spy." "Here?" inquired a voice. "No, let us not mix their corpses with our own. The little barricade at the Mondétour lane can be scaled. It is only 4 feet high. The man is well pinioned. He shall be taken thither and put to death." There was someone who was more impassive at that moment than Enjolras. It was Javert. Here, Jean Valjean made his appearance. He had been lost among the group of insurgents. He stepped forth and said to Enjolras, "You are the commander?" "Yes." "You thanked me a while ago. In the name of the Republic, the barricade has 2 saviors, Marius Pontmercy and yourself." "Do you think that I deserve a recompense?" "Certainly." "Well, I request one. What is it?" "That I may blow that man's brains out." Javert raised his head, saw Jean Valjean, made an almost imperceptible movement, and said, "That is just." As for Enjolras, he had begun to reload his rifle, cut his eyes about him. "No objections?" And he turned to Jean Valjean. "Take the spy." Jean Valjean did, in fact, take possession of Javert by seating himself on the end of the table. He seized the pistol, and a faint click announced that he had cocked it. Almost at the same moment, a blast of trumpets became audible. "Take care!" shouted Marius from the top of the barricade. Javert began to laugh with that noiseless laugh which was peculiar to him, and gazing intently at the insurgents, he said to them, "You are in no better case than I am." "All out!" shouted Enjolras. The insurgents poured out tumultuously, and as they went, received in the back, may we be permitted the expression, this sally of Javert's. We shall meet again shortly. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com, and while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.